Hey, what's going on, guys? I just want to review, I guess, the past 2 days. Uh, Starting with SPY, right? This was a untouched chart, nothing new, nothing done to it. As you guys can see, uh, it was a huge move. Um, but it was going into NVIDIA earnings, so I get it. But really, right? It's just disappointing. I just want to talk about that aspect as a trader. I talk about it a lot. I try to give you guys insights into the ups and the downs because it's not always easy. And this isn't by any means anything cocky, but I do feel like I'm really good at reading price action. And even then, I definitely struggle, right? It's hard to really put ideas and trades, right, into your brain and then it actually happen and then hold through it and have the monetary aspect of it. And people following that trade is always stressful. But, you know, slumps happen. I really wouldn't even call this a slump. If you follow me on Twitter, which I'm sure all of you do, like, it's not a slump. I have a good read on price. It's just, I guess, bad timing. Um, you guys have seen it, right? I mean, this one right here was unfortunate. It was a point 0.5 stop out. I put stops at 0.90. The low was 0.85. Had I not done that, we would have captured. Entry was like right around here, right? Something like on this low. If you guys remember, I'll go over why I took this in a second. But the gap up itself was to here, right? It's basically a $10, $9 gap up, and then who knows? We would have held for the rest, right? But the remainder was an extra $4. So $15 rally we could have captured. I'm sure that would have been well over, 400, 500%. So it's frustrating, right? And especially the fact that I had 25 contracts. I was specific even with the amount of contracts I had. I think it was about a 22, $25,000 day. So that's depressing, right? And like, I think that stemmed into my feelings this morning in the sense like I missed probably the only trade I needed to take this week. Had I just taken this, I wouldn't have needed to trade Friday. Everything else was irrelevant, right? These are the trades that you want to capture. I mean, guys, this was a huge move. I don't know. I mean, if we just take it from the low, right? I mean, all the way up to the high, that's a 3% move. Like I said, $15. I felt like I missed it, right? And you guys know me. I don't really trade all-time high breakouts, but it was an all-time high breakout. 503.50 made a new all-time high. I'm not going to trade that. My entry was down here. It doesn't make sense. And then AMD, same thing, right? AMD, I was looking to long on a break above 164.46. You guys can see pretty clearly it was just holding this zone here, right? In between 161.94, this low from Tuesday. Just consolidated here. And then obviously had a huge rip up as well. I was looking for it to trade up into this 173.80 spot. And of course, it opened there and then continued to run from there. And at that point, once again, though, I'm already so late. We're opened at, that's a 5% move on that. If you guys know anything about ATR, right, like average true range, this already far exceeded that by just the gap up alone. So you'd expect like consolidation or maybe a pullback or maybe a small rally. The fact that this rallied that hard, I'm not going to chase that. So it's depressing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's very depressing. It's heartbreaking sometimes when these happen because I was so prepared for SPY. I was well positioned for SPY. I said, hey, I'm gonna take AMD or SPY. Took SPY and I got stopped out, and I can't double whammy and take AMD too. But both those ideas were well over huge amounts of money. Week making, multi-week making trade right there, and I just didn't get it, and it bothers me in the sense that obviously I want to make money, but other people probably followed that, and that was a huge opportunity, and I didn't capture it from. So I need a break from today, or at least from the screens and stuff like that. I mean, that's the hardest part I think for me. Um, and it's difficult too. People don't know why I'm not just jumping the gun on stuff like that. And the reason is like once this happens, this move, like I said, the ATR is typically exhausted. You're chasing a gap up, but you're also developing really bad habits of just taking calls at like in price discovery, and you can't be doing that all the time. And eventually, I'm telling you guys, it's gonna come back and bite people in the ass. And habits are everything right now. So you just have to accept like missing moves after they've already happened. And how can I have held? How could I have done better? But yeah, that's my little rant. Um, Now, as for the reason that I took this, right? I think it was pretty simple. If you guys, kind of follow everything I've been talking about, we've known that this 495 level was a bit, or I'm sorry, 494 level was a big dark pool print. And this was via Trady Ticks. It was a huge amount. I think it was like 2.9 billion. And then obviously to start the week, right, we had Friday, and then we opened and had a new week opening gap onto Tuesday. So I usually expect some sort of accumulation first, and then a markup to fill the new week opening gap. But it was different this time because we had earnings, right, for Nvidia. Nvidia is pretty much dictating the entire market at this point. So I was bullish, needless to say, to start the week, and I was just wondering where they were going to actually accumulate from. So Tuesday ended up or Monday, yeah, Tuesday, technically Monday, ended up happening, created a new week opening gap, shorter week as well, so we can expect that accumulation to happen on a much quicker time frame. And usually we'll get some kind of sweep, right? Something quick and dramatic to really instigate that's I guess that pressure, right? Kind of really build out that position, stop out longs, get everything they need quickly, and then from there, right, really punish those shorting the lows, and vice versa. If we were looking for a short, would punish the buyers at the highs. But yeah, I mean, this was all I was looking for. Was for it to sweep under 494.45 and dig into 494 because I knew buyers were sitting at 494. If we take a look as well, I mean, if you're just an EMA trader, it was pretty easy. It was just to pull down into the 21 EMA on the daily. That's not just enough juice for me or a reason to take the trade itself. I have to have, I need to know where buyers are at, and you guys can use this via like level 2. You guys can use this via Bookmap. You guys can obviously use futures and look at the DOM. You can look at the bid and ask, very, very explicitly through that. TradyTix is a great tool as well to kind of see those hidden buyers. But this was so simple, in my opinion, in the fact that it really just built out this pattern here, right? We had Tuesday, it created a low. This is our Monday low, right? And then it opened up and kind of just hovered here, and everyone was expecting consolidation or chop leading into Nvidia's earnings, and the fact that we started to fade underneath right here, and really too we can even see the volume patterns here, right at previous day low. You guys can see. And it did fade underneath the intraday low. So this was the initial low, the 50-minute orb low. Every time it got under, you guys can see the volume spikes in it as well, right? Like this was a very clean hammer. And this is actually where I took my entry, if you guys remember. And I should have just done what I said I was going to do, right? I did say, like, okay, I'm not going to look until market closes. This is the hammer that I think big players kind of got into, which I think I was correct. But remember, they're not going to ever get in on and fulfill a position or a full campaign off one singular touch. It's never going to happen that way. If it does happen that way, right, you're usually going to have light size. But this is the candle I got in on, and then obviously it consolidated here and had triple inside bar, was very, very tight after that. Got a quick expansion. I think this was FOMC minutes, right, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold this. I think I was up like 20% or something like that, and then it ended up selling back down and really kind of consolidated and held underneath 494.45, right? I think a lot of people panicked here and closed and either did that or went short. But what was really happening here underneath this low, right, was them getting their position actually filled, right? The remainder of their position via dark pool, in my opinion. Obviously, there's some on the lit exchange as well, but you guys can see, right, no 15-minute candle closed below 494. And this is what's unfortunate. That's really hard sometimes to do in the moment, especially with 25 cons, especially knowing that I had my entry like in this candle here after the fact that I was in profit, right? And just knowing too, like the people are kind of trailing that position, and I had been down already 35%. I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh, just hold, I'm down 50% and then I'm down 60% and then I disappear. Like I probably, I haven't been in people's shoes like that are following alerts, but I imagine it's like, what the fuck, dude. So I knew that the low of the contracts once it hit this spot here was like 1, or I'm sorry, yeah, 1.0. I gave myself a little bit more leeway, and I was like, okay, if they're gonna stop me out, they're gonna have to break the contract low. And I set my stop to a 0.90, and I shouldn't have done that. I mean, I never do a hard stop. If you guys have been following me, it's always eyeball off of a level. If it breaks the level, I close, right? And if it doesn't, I'll add into that position. And, you know, it's not DCAing technically at all. I'm not adding into a loser. I'm just adding based off levels. And if it's a relevant level, if people are buying off of that level, I want to be buying with them. So I don't really ever do like a hard, but just the percentage thing kind of got to me. Uh, you guys can see, man, like they dug me out right here. This was the candle, and it was kind of stressful to be in. I probably, like I said, shouldn't have looked at my chart. I should have closed it. Took Riley for a walk, but I came running back because I was like, oh fuck, okay, I got my 1.2 fills. If you guys remember, I got 1.20s filled, and that's why I ran back really quickly because I had bids set up, and man, yeah, kind of how deep did it go? About 50 cents lower than 494. But once again, the candle didn't close, but it had that hard stop. And then from here, these guys got their position filled out, and this is the moment where I knew I was right. You guys saw it probably in the chat as well, right? The hourly, what did it do? Right? You guys can see hourly kind of swept under one time, right? For the highest volume candle here, I think this is what I said they got their initial entries on. The secondary candle, same exact thing. They swept underneath and then closed back above. So 2 hourly sweeps under 494.45. Obviously, bar by bar, lower low, lower low, lower low, but very, very incremental. And then we obviously knew the buyers were there at 494, and this was the one that did it. And then obviously it closed back above, and this really kind of led into that short squeeze going into NVIDIA earnings, right? And it all started from them just getting their positions filled down here. And then obviously shorts got trapped. I would say as soon as this candle closed here above, I knew instantly, and that's when the price really started to move. If you guys remember, I was like, dude, oh my god, because I knew instantly, right? You guys can even see, like as it got above, this was the hourly close here, I think, around here. You guys can see price just didn't really consolidate, it just melted straight up. And I think a lot of people that were still in this trade, it went right to 175 where I said I would be trimming for half. It went straight to like 1.9, and then the gap up obviously occurred, and this was just painful. I have no other way to put it. Very, very painful. New all-time high. You guys can see how quickly these do. My piece of advice, and if you guys have never really understood my concepts or the reason I trade, it's very simple. It's off like the kind of like the process of like accumulation, manipulation, distribution. It's the same thing over and over again, and I'm always very hesitant if we have a new week opening gap, right? We gap down going into a new week, or we gap up. I'm assuming that it's going to be a campaign built wherever you open at, right? To get back into that new week opening gap, right? And they're going to facilitate price back towards that spot. And even then too, like if we don't even talk about a new week opening gap, just a gap down on a Monday or a gap up on a Monday, or something like, or even like Tuesday, right? Gaps are huge in an important aspect in the trading, because it's free money in those ranges, right? And remember, the market's very balanced. The market wants to trade to these spots. And it's about kind of knowing what signs to be looking for, and what areas are going to be swept. We always talk about it, very high liquid zones, whether that's built out daily, hourly areas, right? With you can always look at daily equal highs, equal lows, hourly equal highs, equal lows, but also very, very high points of interest with high volume, right? Singular bounces. This is a source of liquidity here, and a swing point that the market will try to gravitate towards. So we'll see if this ends up coming into play. I'd expect the market to trade back down to 490 and try to take out this low here. But yeah, it's just, this was unfortunate. And then I did mention already AMD. But yeah, let's talk about. I guess we should just talk about all the losses, right, and the way around it. Rivian, unfortunate here. I did take, I had 8 contracts. I did trim down to 4, so it wasn't the worst loss. These ended up opening at 1.5, but still, on 4 contracts, I lost 150 per, so it's not ideal. But I did not think this floor would get taken out. Simple as that. This is a perfect example, though, of a pain trade, if you will, right? Like I always mention, equal lows, if they can sweep under these, Yeah, it's usually not going to break like this on an intraday basis, right? I mean, it's pretty hard to get through this during market hours. So, use of earnings is a very simple way to take these guys out, clear that liquidity, end up taking stops out, and then kind of re-rally. But at this point, I'm not interested in it, right? It's at all-time lows. They had a terrible performance in terms of, production. I think they actually released, or their plans for 2024 were 80,000 cars. I think they are only hitting like 30. So, I mean, that's where fundamentals do matter, right? And I'll look at it and I'll be like, this isn't even worth my time anymore, right? I think the only EV company that's showing any pulse really is Tesla. And even Tesla has kind of lost that oomph, and you guys know what I mean by that. But um, that's pretty much Rivian. I have nothing else to really say about that. What else did we end up taking? Let's jump into QQQ from today. This was kind of like the nail in the coffin from today and like my whole mood. But let's jump into that. All right, same exact concept here, right? And I keep mentioning this too, that like QQQ, I don't know why I'm trading it or not trading it more often. The chart's way easier in my opinion. You guys remember what I said, right? We had Tuesday here, and then we gapped down into this gap that was unfilled down here. SPY didn't have that, right? SPY never had an unfilled gap into a weekly support here. If you guys can't see, just 1 second. Weekly support. SPY didn't have the structure built out like this. And if we take a look at just how easy that long side trade was, remember, SPY, we knew that buyers were at 494, and that was really all we had with, and obviously the 21 EMA. But I mean, this sold into the gap, filled the gap, and then consolidated here in between the gap and then 421.34, right? I think this was a way easier trade. I could have just risked 421.34, which is that weekly level, knowing that they probably are accumulating in this gap here. And then you guys can see, right, just as big of a move. Yeah, even this is frustrating to me. Like, I don't know why I didn't see this, but having taken that, right, that was actually a better move in terms of the gap up. That was a 3% gap up. The entire move itself, if we ended up catching that, which I don't think I would have been 4% or $17. So, hindsight's 2020, but it's not really hindsight because I figured this was going to happen. I thought, Qs would push up to 434. So in a sense, I was right. You can shave off the extra, this much because I probably would have closed. But yeah, still, Qs was the better chart. I need to start looking at QQQ more as my vehicle to trade with because it is leading, but also the chart I think is just structurally more sound. I keep going back to SPY for some reason, and it's important to find not only the one that is going to pay well. I think I gravitate towards SPY because of SPX. I don't know why, yeah, but it's important to kind of notice which one's diverging, which chart looks cleaner, and kind of go with that. And then obviously look at the leaders in that ETF, right? And then if those names that look good, if they look good for continuation, if they look weak, or if one name's kind of just carrying, right? Things like that. But yeah, this was probably the preferred thing. But into today, right? If you guys saw the chart, going back to the daily, we ended up having the melt up, right? The gap up, if you will, and we were looking kind of for this spot to just be resistance. It was pretty simple in my opinion. This was a progression spot that I felt that bears needed to hold to prevent an all-time high move, very similar to SPY. This is before obviously SPY pushed to the, or I guess it already opened at the all-time high. Did it? Right. Or am I wrong? Yeah, it already opened, so I'm not crazy. So I was hoping like, okay, NQ has been the leader, right, or QQQ Nasdaq, and I was like, ideally, right, we open here and we push down because we had an open low, and then I was hoping the high would be right off this level here, and bears would protect this lower high, right, and then also protect this gap here and prevent an all-time high move. And that was really the basis for that trade. It wasn't supposed to be anything super crazy, right? This morning we ended up having, where was it? We had the open rejection. It pulled down, kind of held in this little spot here. Oh, I thought I was in the wrong day. Rejected here, pushed down. Like I said, we had an open, low, and then obviously I was looking for the high. And then we ended up pushing up here, and then we came down, and this is where it kind of fell apart, if you will, right? It kind of pushed up, made this little area right around here where it gave us like a porcupine look, right? Something like that, where sellers were now preventing a push up towards this high here, right? So if we consider this our high point, This looked really good. And if you guys understand like the silver bullet from ICT, you want to use your 9 a.m. candle, right, from futures because you have more data. But usually we'll see as we progress into that 10 a.m. candle, we'll see different exchanges kind of come into the playing field. And really pick up off the trend, or they'll try to sweep that trend and reverse it. And it looked good, man. It really did look good. So, you know, we had this porcupine here where I saw some selling happening, was pretty low volume. It looked like the lower high. This is where I started that position, if you guys remember. And then obviously it pulled down, caught a higher low, pushed right back up, and actually traded to the high, and then we swept the high. This is where I was like very excited. I ended up adding on this candle as it swept through the high. This is actually, you know, picture perfect, if you will. And what we would expect is from, you know, the 9 a.m. candle high sweep, it's probably going to trade down to the low of that hourly candle as well, right? It's going to take out one source of liquidity and trade towards the bottom. So I was actually expecting this to sell all the way down, bounce off this one more time, give us a lower high, and then sell into the 433.72 spot, and then make its way right into this gap here. The 9 EMA was sitting right around 432, 431-ish. So that's what I was expecting. And it was just unfortunate, right? The only really uptick in volume was the sell candles here, and it made its way down. But all it really did was retest that old lower high, right? This lower high from back here. I'll go back to the daily just for reference. I know some people get confused. So that's all it did. This little gap right here, right? It just kind of retested it. And I have nothing else to say. The chart just failed. Sellers just weren't there. So it bounced down. I was green on the trade at this point. It bounced back up. I ended up taking more ads, I think like right around here. And I just kind of risked this high. And it just consolidated here, broke down one more time. And at this point, you guys can already see what's happening, hopefully, right? Don't even need a trend line, right? But if we have that drawn out, what do we have? Right, we have a low, higher low, higher low. This is what kind of gives you that look too as well. For you guys should already see it. We have a flat top, right? What is that? Ascending triangle, and then we obviously have a breakout, pullback, retest, and then it just went. And I'm not gonna long it at that point. Just that's my day, right? I'm just gonna accept my loss. You guys already know I had a really good start to the week. I was doing pretty good. Tesla ended up doing well initially. What else? I had some good trades this week. I was pretty patient on a lot of my stuff. But yeah, it just sucked, right? I came off a withdrawal last week. I felt good about everything, and then going into today, it just kind of fell apart. I wouldn't say I went on tilt. Just you know, like I said, it was depressing to have something in my hands and have such a good, you know, high potential, or yeah, high potential but high risk reward trade from, you know, SPY way down here. I know this is QQQ's chart, but to let that slip away not only on this but AMD, because I didn't take either of those this morning too. If you guys remember, I was so pissed because I shorted QQQ, but the other option was to take coin long, right? So I just felt like everything went wrong. Coin's chart was pretty simple as well. You guys take a look, right? We have a divergence here in terms of selling, right? So price obviously took out the external high, started to sell down on low volume. It retested this key weekly spot here. You guys need to see the weekly for reference, right? If it slips under this, you could maybe see it come down to 144, but you know, sell pressure doesn't say it's going to go that deep, but it did bounce off of this level, and I didn't really have a spot this morning to take it off of. I'm sure we could have taken it off the open, right, which was here, and if we go back to the chart now, 5 minutes here, I guess you could have taken it there, but that would have been a trade like literally right off the, you know, the morning open, right? Price opened here from the previous day, same exact spot as before. Could you have pulled the trigger? Absolutely, but my actual trigger was it pushing down again and getting close to 161.38 without a failure to go lower. You know, yeah, of course, you know, it bounced off this level, pushed up. Now, I probably should have taken the entry here, and trust me, I did see this. I'm not, you know, blind. Kind of like a little bit of a flag, like right here. 3-bar, pretty. Yeah, I mean, this was pretty simple. It wasn't like it didn't come out perfect in terms of how the structure of the flag looked. I just saw the lower volume pullback, right? This is the thing you should be looking at right here, right? You can see the high volume breakout, 1, 2, 3. Volume gets extremely low, right? And then you have another breakout through the high. But at that point, I was already in QQQ. I'm not going to go long Q or long coin, short QQQ, and then have two positions that are kind of fighting with each other. It just didn't feel right. So I stuck with my gut and I chose, Qs. And this was a really good play, even if you caught this little mini flag here. I think that was like 50% or something like that. And QQQ was just not it, right? And it is what it is. These things happen. You just kind of, like I said, lick your wounds. You move on from them. You don't revenge trade. I mean, Fridays are the worst day to revenge trade because now in the back of my mind, I'm going to be like, okay, let's get that 900 back, or, I'm down $2,300, $2,400 on the week. Tesla did kind of recover it a little bit. Tesla pushed up to, I think it was like 15% before the close. I was up about $900 on that. So, I mean, if I closed Tesla, sure, I could have mitigated today's loss in pretty much half of the week, right? The damage that I caused. But I got to think longer term in terms of, what my goal is on that trade. And I don't want to have, opportunity loss. And just because I'm trying to do well in this week, I don't want to sacrifice anything for the further weeks and, potentially huge trade there. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it, guys. That really is it. Just a frustrating week, and I just always like to go over these and talk about these because it happens to everybody. And that's what's so hard about trading, man. You can have like such a good feel for what's going on. You could be right about absolutely everything, but did you execute it? Were you in the right frame of mind when you were actually in the desk, locked in on your charts? Did you execute? And if you can't do that, it's all right. That's the hardest part, is piecing it all together. Charting is, in my opinion, the easiest part. The hardest part is psyche behind it and staying in trades and remaining calm and all these little things. You also go through what I'm talking about too. Like you lose love for the sport, if you will. Sometimes like this becomes like a chore, and you're like, "Fuck, I really don't want to trade," because it is stressful. It's very stressful. That's why I haven't really been doing live trading. If I'm being entirely transparent, it's just trading's getting to me. I don't really need a reset. Like I said, I think I just need to kind of keep going and pushing through, and things will work itself out. But yeah, just coming to you guys as always as raw as I can, and see what we can get on Friday if we have any charts that's set up. There's a couple that look all right, but kind of just a reset, if you will, and I'll be clean by Monday. Clear by, and I said clean as if I'm doing drugs. Clear by Monday, and fresh week ahead. So. That's pretty much it, guys. I don't really think I traded anything else. Oh yeah, congrats on SQ. If you guys were in SQ, this did exactly what I thought it would do. Right, we were talking about the 62 low where I never added, but unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I still held on to it. Unfortunately, I didn't add, but yeah, melted up to 71.47, filled that gap. We were expecting it to pull back and create a higher low, and boy did it ever, right? It just kind of consolidated in this range at risk 62. And then obviously last day here was Thursday, and then today, of course, gapped up. Where did it go? Right to next target, right? So go to the 15-minute chart. This will open around 76, 77. Our contracts for 80s. We still have, 25 days on it or so. So these will open up really, really good, well within profit. So congrats if you guys held on to SQ. Hood as well had a really good move today over the downtrend line here. You guys remember my scan that I put out? Pretty simple, right? We're just looking for a really quick breakout over the top of that. I think it can take out 1436 and trade to our 15 level. And then from there, I think 1649 to 17 is on the table. That's why I went a little bit further out with my contracts. We don't want to see 1323 break, but risk overall is 1277, and this had a pretty nice move today, right? I would say this is pretty healthy. I would expect a gap up, but we'll end up seeing. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks for all the messages too. I got so many on, not only from you guys but on Twitter. It's never needed, but I do appreciate it. This is part of the journey, and you just got to accept that it's never anything that's hard and difficult and that is potentially life changing. And the opportunity that we have, guys, I'll take stress any day and going through momentary moments of just like getting emotional or feeling weak or whatever it may be, to be able to trade with you guys, and it's humbling, right? The market's humbling, and it's a good thing. It's a good resetter, and I do love this at the end of the day. So appreciate you guys. Hopefully this isn't too long. I'll try to trim it up and edit it out and whatever I need to do. But I will see you guys tomorrow. But really just next week, time to lock in, right? I think I'm gonna come back with a fresher mindset. So see you guys then.